Hi, you guys. How is everyone doing? I hope you all are doing well. I miss all of you. Today I'm just gonna talk about factoring. This is something that we've done in class already. I just wanted to post my video and, go over all the factoring, the different factoring kinds that we've done in class, um, so that you can, review them and make sure you do your assignments. Um, so I also have my daughter and my son right here. They're just acting as students because they have not learned this before. So if they have any questions, they're gonna ask me questions. Um, and if you guys have any questions after you watch the video, please text me or send me an email, or you can always ask me your questions on Google Classroom. And it might be a little noisy in here, but it's okay. My current situation with 6 kids in the house. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is factor by grouping. And as we usually do in class, we always do example, and then we write the steps as we go, and then I'll give you the you try part. So please, when it comes to the you try part, please try to pause the video and try to do it on your own, just like we do in class. I give you a minute to give it a try before you just see the answer. All right, so example one is going to be 2x cubed y squared minus 4x y squared minus 8x4y plus xy. So, I'm sorry, it should be 16xy. So, the first thing I'm going to be looking at right here is the terms. How many terms do I have? So, you should know that we have 4 terms. That's considered one term, and they are separated by that mathematical operation right here, which is the minus. That's one term. And that's another term. This is considered one term. So by looking at all the terms, I will be asking myself this question. What do I have in common among these terms? Maybe I'm going to find something in common among all 4 of them. Maybe there will be something in common just between the first and the second term, or the first and the third term, or the first and the fourth term. But in this case, I'm going to look and I'm going to see I have, so I have 2, I have 4, 8, and 16. What is the greatest common factor among the 2, 4, 8, and 16? Correct. So I'm gonna pause always for like a few seconds so that I give you time to answer the question. So the greatest common factor among among the constants in all 4 terms is 2. So this is the first thing that I know for sure, that I have the greatest common factor. Now I can look at the other variable and see, okay, I have x cubed here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all the x's and all the terms that I have. This will just, you don't have to highlight it once you really know it good. It's just for you to remember, or to just, get used to it. Just seeing that x is in common among all the terms. So if I look, I have x cubed, x to the fourth power, and x. So what is the greatest common factor? So let me write it out. Greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor among x cubed, x, x4, and x is is just, see, this is to the third power, this is to the first power, this is to the fourth power, and this is to the first power. So the greatest common factor actually is going to be just 1x, or x. I have my son here, he told me it's x squared. If I'm thinking x squared, how many times does the x squared go into this x? It doesn't go, right? So I want to think of what exponent is going to be, it can go into all the x's that I have. So that would be x. And then I'm going to look at the last term I have, which is the y squared. Does it make sense? Yeah. All right, so I got y squared, I got y, and y. So I'm going to write down greatest common factor right here. So what do you mean by you thought you would just have one?
No, it was just 2 for everything.
Oh, no, we have to look at every single item I have in this term, variables and constants. Greatest common factor among y squared, y, and y. What do you guys think is the greatest common factor here? Very good, Hattie. It's y. So it's going to be y. All right, so now in this one here, I'm just kind of breaking it down for you. But of course, when you're doing your work, you don't have to do all those steps. Well, you have to do them, you don't have to write them out. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and write down the expression again. Minus 4xy squared minus 8x4y plus 16xy. And I'm just going to go ahead and see that I have 2 x and y in common. So it's 2xy. That is, these are all the common factors I have, right? The 2, the x, and the y. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open parentheses. What does it mean when I say I have a greatest common factor? What I'm going to do with that greatest common factor?
Write them all right?
Very good. Yes. So that means I'm going to go ahead and divide each and every term with that greatest common factor that I have. It's 2xy. All right, I don't have a pencil. I don't have a sharpened pencil here, but that's fine. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the first term. Simplify x cubed over x is what? What is x cubed over x? It's just x cubed. Yes, that's correct. Is x squared. So I'm going to have x squared, y squared divided by y is y. Very good. Minus. Make sure you drop them down. Drop all the mathematical operations you have down. So I'm going to say 4x squared divided by 2xy. Again, I'm going to look at each term by itself. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then x and x are going to be crossed out. And then y squared divided by y is going to be y. Now we're going to go ahead and drop down the y. And we're going to work on that term. And we have 8 divided by 2 is 4. X to the 4th divided by x is x cubed. Okay, I think I'm getting messages here. And then, that's correct, Hattie. And then plus 16 divided by 2 is 8. And And then what do we have here? X crossed out with X, Y crossed out with Y. Hattie, what do you mean by or 2Y? Which term are you talking about? First, second, third, or...
The second. I thought it was 2xy, but
Oh, okay. All right. So this is gonna be your final answer. And please remember that dividing exponents, this is something we've done before. I have all the notes up on Google Classroom. So if you forgot how to do that, please make sure you go back. There is a tab on the margin kind of Google Classroom where it says exponents as the first thing kind of we did this school year. So make sure you go back, review them. If you have more questions, I'll be more than happy to create another video and go over it with you. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and give you another example. And this is, of course, as you know, the you try part. So please do your best to pause for a minute so that you can work on the you try part, because at the end of the day, it's all for you. It's what you need. All right. So it's the you try part. And this is example 2. We will go with 9z cubed x squared plus 3z x4 minus 9z squared x5. So in here, how many terms do I have? So I'm gonna or hopefully you will give yourself 1 minute to do the you try part. And then after that, I'm gonna explain it really quick, just like we do in class. So we're gonna think about, that's one term. All this is considered one term. All this is considered one term. All right, now I'm gonna see, do I have any greatest common factor? That's gonna be my next question. And I'm gonna look, good job, yes, it's 3 had, you're right. So I have 3, what else? Let me make it easier and highlight the z's. So I got z cubed, z, and z squared. What is the smallest one that's going to go into all of them? So it's 3z. All right, cool. And then we're going to say we got x squared, x4, and x5. What do you think is in common among x squared, x4, and x5? X what? Only x? You always look at the x with the smallest exponent.
oh, that's good.
X squared. Very good. Because I know that this is going to go. Don't you guys mind my nails? Yeah, they're quarantining nails. I can't take them off. And yeah, but whatever. All right. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to say I know that I got 3. Or let me write it all out. 9z cubed x squared plus 3z x4 minus 9z squared x5. Now what's in common? 3z x squared in common. And as I said, when we talk about the factor, that means we are actually dividing all the terms by this factor. So 9 over 3, that's 3, z cubed over z, that's z squared, because as you know, z means z is the same as z to the power of 1. X squared and x squared are going to be crossed out because we're going to subtract the exponents and we're going to get x to the power of 0. And any number to the power of 0 is always 1. Then we got 3 over 3 is 1. Z over Z is 1. Don't forget to drop down the plus. X squared over, x to the 4th power over x squared is x squared. And then 9 over 3, that's 3. Z squared over Z is Z. And x to the 5th power over x squared, that is x cubed. And I'm gonna say, can I simplify it any further? The answer is no. And this will be your final answer. All right. I hope that helped you guys. I know we're not even halfway through. This is something that we've done for pretty, like, I don't know, maybe we spent 2 weeks on factoring or 3 weeks. So I'm not gonna sum it all up in like 30 minutes, but I'm trying my best. I hope you guys do your part too, okay, and do your best. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and give another example. If you think my videos are long and I probably might need to split them up, I can do that with the next video that I'm gonna post, because I'm planning on actually recording myself teaching for every single lesson we have. So, all right, let's go ahead and do example 3. You can always take a break and come back, but please come back and make sure that you are following along with everything that I'm doing. All right, let's do example 3. It's kind of the same concept. So let's go ahead and say x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 3. So same concept. Whenever we do factoring, we always have to think of the most important thing, which is, do I have a greatest common factor? And remember when I told you the first time that the factors don't always have to be among all 4 of them. It can be just each one of them separated. So let's look at this together. How many terms do we have? That's an important question that you should always ask yourself. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 terms. Okay, so I look over here. The constant is 1. So that means I cannot find any greatest common factor among all 3 of them. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to look at these, the first 2 terms, and I'm going to say, do I have the greatest common factor among the first 2 terms? So my son is saying no. What is it? You're saying yes or no?
Yeah, there's one. It will always be a
Okay, but 1 doesn't matter to us because it's not going to really make any difference to my factor. So look at these 2. Let's just ignore for a minute that we have all this. Look at x cubed and x squared. What is the greatest common factor among x cubed and x squared? X squared, that's correct. So I'm going to say x cubed and x squared has x squared as a greatest common factor. Now I'm going to look at the other 2 terms that I have. So I'm just going to highlight these ones because we know that they have the same factors, or they have a common factor, I should say. And I'm going to highlight negative x minus 3. Do you see a greatest common factor among the negative? So earlier, Hedy, you mentioned we have 1. Okay, but what about negative 1 here and negative 1 here?
Make some positive.
So I will take negative 1 is the greatest common factor among negative x and negative 3. I have a lot of faces, not happy faces in here, I guess. All right, so I'm going to write it all out because I don't have any more factors to check if they have any greatest common factors. So I'm going to say x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 3. So we all agreed that we have x squared as the greatest common factor here. I'm going to open parentheses. So again, when we say greatest common factor, that means we are dividing each and every term with this greatest common factor that we have. X cubed over x squared is, yes, x cubed over x squared is x because we subtract the exponents because they're division. And then x squared over x squared crossed out. And we have plus 3 left. Now let's go ahead and see if we take -1 here as a common factor, and that's the tricky one. And that's where a lot of students really get this one wrong. So let's treat -1 as a real number because -1 is a value. So when I have -1 in common, I'm going to open parentheses. And again, we have to divide the terms by -1. Negative x divided by -1 will give you x. And then -3 divided by -1 will give you
Positive 3.
plus 3 or positive 3. Very good. Am I done here? Do I have anything in common here? So yes, by looking at this, I will notice that we have, you know what, I'm just going to highlight this with the pink. And Hattie, do you think we have anything in common? So remember, let's do this again first.
Yeah, actually.
This is one term, and this is all one term. You got to remember this. All right, so what's in common here? X plus 3 is going to be your greatest common factor. So we got x plus 3. And again, when we do the greatest common factor, that means we are dividing each and every term with this same factor. Cross this out, and I have x squared left on the side minus, so if x plus 3 and x plus 3 cross out, I have minus 1 left. All right, so of course we can factor this more, but we're going to talk about this and what's coming up after you do the U-try part. All right, so now let's go ahead and remember you can always shoot me an email or give me a call or text if you have any questions. All right, let's go ahead now and do the U-try part, and that will be example number 4. And it's the U-try. Please try to pause the video for 1 minute, just like we do in class, and you do the U-try part. All right, let's do x cubed. Hattie, I want you to actually do it. X cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 6. So I pause for a minute. Hopefully you guys, I'm not going to pause for a minute, but I just want you to pause for a minute and go ahead and try this. So again, we ask ourselves the question, do we have a greatest common factor among all of the terms? So how many terms I have here? I have 1. You guys just be quiet. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 terms. So I'm going to look, do I have a greatest common factor among all the terms? Obviously not, because this is 1, this is 2, this is -3, and this is 6. So we do not have a greatest common factor. So I'm going to move on and see, all right, let me see, do I have greatest common factor among any of the two terms? So looking at, and of course you're going to get better at this as you practice. So do I have a greatest common factor here? And x cubed and 2x squared has x squared in common. Now you might ask me, how do I know which two terms will have things in common? Well, you gotta keep trying. That's what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna try, you're gonna look, and you're gonna always ask yourself these questions. Do I have this or that? Which one is gonna be better? Which one is gonna help me more? So now among -3x and 6 has, what is the greatest common factor here, Haji? It's -3. All right, so now let's go ahead and write this whole thing down. X cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 6. And we agreed that there is, or hopefully we agreed, that we have x squared in common here. So that means I'm dividing the terms with x squared. That would be x plus 2. And then looking at the other terms, actually I did a mistake because I did not highlight the negative. Because remember, negative